Alright guys, this is Cameron Shadukian, and what I want to talk to you about in this video is retiring in Vietnam. And this was a conversation I recently had with my aunt. She's kind of burnt out from her job, and she thinks that living in the US is expensive. Fair points. And what I thought about was, hey, maybe she could retire abroad. And I think that having lived in Vietnam, I'm not close to retiring yet, obviously, but here are some points of perspective that I can offer you on retiring in Vietnam. I have many friends that are in their 50s, and I've met many retired people that are here. So here are some things to consider. Pros of retiring in Vietnam. I'm checking my notes here. The first pro is the cost of living. It is very, very, very cheap to live here. Now let me stand up and I'm going to quick show you. This is my apartment I'm staying in, and it's pretty comfortable. I got a balcony, a nice balcony, air condition, a huge closet, and there's more. I won't show you everything, but you can see I've got a bathroom, and over here it's dark, but you can see I've got a kitchen. So clearly this is a pretty nice place, and this place is running me $340 a month, and it's in the center of Ho Chi Minh City, which is probably the most expensive place in the country, most expensive city in the country. So you can live here very cheaply. Street food is maybe $1 or $2. You can eat at a nice restaurant, a nice steak dinner, maybe $10 or $15. Life here is cheap, so that's the first pro I would say if you're thinking about moving here. Now continuing on, another nice thing about Vietnam is that the food is healthy and the food is delicious. So living here, you are going to be able to eat lots of food with fresh ingredients, fresh vegetables, and it's going to be very cheap. And speaking of cheap, like I said, the cost of living, it's very cheap. I just heard the maid, she opened the door, and while I'm recording this video, she is going to clean my room and clean the bathroom, do the laundry, and she's going to do all of that. And that is included with my rent in the apartment. So you're living here, it's going to be cheap, and you're going to have access to lots of great street food, fresh ingredients, and you're going to be really healthy. Continuing, easy visa. You want to come stay in Vietnam? You can get a visa here to stay very easily. I'd say that Vietnam is probably the most relaxed country in this region as far as visas go. It used to be Cambodia, but from what I've heard, Cambodia has tightened up a little bit recently. But Vietnam, you can get a 1-year tourist or a 1-year business visa here. And I would say for that, you need to budget about $400 or $500 a year for the business visa, maybe a little less for the tourist visa. But for that, you can stay here pretty much indefinitely. At least it seems that way for the time being. Maybe things will be different 10 or 20 years from now as the country continues to develop and policies change. But for the immediate future, there doesn't seem to be any real restrictions for how long you can stay here. Next, varied lifestyle opportunities. No matter what type of lifestyle you want, you can get it here. If you like the chaos and the big city vibes, you got that in Ho Chi Minh City, or you can get that in Hanoi. On the other hand, if you want a peaceful mountain town, you go to Dalat. You want beaches, go to Vung Tau. There is everything here. There's something for everyone. And the other nice thing is that because of in Vietnam, it's easier to get short-term leases than it may be in the US or other developed countries. And because Airbnbs are still pretty affordable here, you can move around often, and it's very inexpensive to travel in the country. So If you want to stay somewhere half the year and somewhere else the other half of the year, very easy. Heck, you don't even need to do it for half a year at a time. You could do it for 1 or 2 or 3 months at a time and rotate places. Continuing the pros, last pro. The people here are friendly. If you're walking through the street, they're going to say, hello, hello, hello. And that's kind of unusual because in a lot of the other Asian countries, the people are more reserved. For example, when I go to the park, sometimes the university students, I'm just in the park, minding my own business, maybe eating lunch. They'll come in, they'll try to practice talking to you. They'll practice speaking English, and they'll ask you questions. They'll ask if you've seen this thing in the city yet. Have you gone to this market? So the people are very friendly. And maybe in Thailand or in Korea or Japan, I've heard that the people are more reserved. Or they're just not as interested in foreigners. So that's a big pro. It's easy to make friends here. And the people are very open in that way. Now let's move on to the cons. Let's keep the video moving. This video is getting to be pretty long already. Cons of living in Vietnam. Number 1, and to me this is the biggest one, air pollution. I've already made videos about that in the past. I'll include the link. Let me turn the camera. I'll include the link in the description, but air pollution, it's a big issue here. If you live in Ho Chi Minh City like I do, or if you live in Hanoi, you're going to cough every single day. And it gets old. It gets old, always having to having to do that all the time. Yeah, for sure. You're going to get sick of it. So maybe if your health is really important to you, maybe don't choose one of these 2 big mega cities. And the other thing is that even when you go to the restaurant, sometimes when I go to the restaurant, the people are smoking in the restaurant. Not like on the street eating street food. Yes, that happens. But I mean, in the restaurant, they're smoking. It's not a bar. It's just a normal restaurant. And they're smoking. That's annoying, especially when they blow the smoke into your face. Let's continue. Another con, cleanliness and manners. So Vietnamese cities are very, very dirty. And even if you're in one of the, like we talked about the dirty air, but even if you're in one of the smaller cities that has better air quality, you're still going to see garbage on the street. It's not like Japan, where everything is clean. It's not like Singapore, where everywhere is clean. It's not even like the US, where it's pretty clean. Vietnam is dirty. Vietnam is really dirty. And the other thing is that, if you're at the restaurant, the people don't really wash the dishes. They just dip them in the water. Chopsticks, dip the chopsticks in the water, finished. Chopsticks finished, chopsticks finished. Maybe you can argue that they do that in the US too, but I don't know. Just something I thought I'd add. And perhaps the most disgusting is that the Vietnamese guys, they pee everywhere. They pee in the streets. They pee behind the bus stops. So if you like to walk like I do, a 25-minute walk in the city, you're probably going to smell pee at least once. Disgusting, man. Gets old, let me tell you. And in some, I'm reading my notes. In some spots in Saigon, in Nha Trang, really, really weird. You're walking and for like 100 meters, a whole street will smell like pee. That's horrible, man. And I think my ex-girlfriend, she summed it up the best. She said that the foreigners, we kiss in public and we piss in private. Whereas Vietnamese, they kiss in private and they piss in public. And that's not trying to be derogatory. I'm not trying to put Vietnamese people down. I don't know if it's a different level of education, different cultural expectations. It might just be different infrastructure. Some people may not have a toilet. I don't know. But some of you guys are going to be put off by the cleanliness and the bodily etiquette of the Vietnamese people. So that's something to think about. I've adjusted. I still don't like the pee, but I can deal with it. But I'd point it out for you because you're going to be living in that if you choose to retire here. Another con, congestion and traffic. If you live in the big city like Ho Chi Minh City or you live in Hanoi, there's going to be lots of traffic, and the population is very dense. That means you get less space. When you're walking at the market, everywhere. There are people everywhere. And this is even true if you go to the second tier city. You go to Da Nang, you go to Vung Tau, you go to Bien Hoa, there's still lots of people, more than you're accustomed to. So that can be something to adjust to, and that also means that there's a lot of traffic. So, seriously, after this video, go search Vietnamese motorbike traffic, Ho Chi Minh City. You will be shocked. The amount of motorbikes is endless, and it can even make crossing the street a pain. Pollution. Continuing. Racism. This is the next con. You know, many people in Vietnam, they're still racist. And the Vietnamese people take care of themselves before they worry about those from other countries. And it doesn't matter if you are the person that's right. If you get into a fight with the Vietnamese person, you're going to get creamed. You're going to have 5 other guys, 5 Vietnamese guys passing that are going to take the side of the Vietnamese person. They don't know what happened. They just know that you look different than they do. So you're going to get creamed on that side. The other thing is, I hate to say this, but if you have dark skin, you're viewed as inferior to people with lighter skin. Now, I'm closer to light skin than I am to dark skin, but basically it goes, if you're like in the West and you're pale, they're like, oh, you're pale. But here, that's super beautiful. Whereas I have kind of like most people in the West would say like, oh, you're tan, you have a nice skin color. That's beautiful, but it's less beautiful than being white. But I hate to say that if you have dark skin, some of the people are not going to treat you well here. And I don't think it's super bad. My friend Ocean was here a couple years ago, and I think he enjoyed it here. But I would guess that maybe it's like America in the 1970s or the 1980s. Most people aren't overtly racist, but you might see unfair treatment from time to time. Occasionally, they're going to make you feel bad about it, but I don't think it would be overwhelmingly bad. But again, that's from an outsider's perspective, so I'm not quite sure. And again, that would be wrong. All of that is wrong. We should all be treated equally based on how we behave towards others, but that is not the reality here. So I do want to give you the disclaimer about that. Continuing, language barrier. This one is huge. A lot of the people, they not only do they not speak English well, which is, you can't expect them to speak English, this is their country, but even if you speak Vietnamese, Vietnamese is one of the most difficult languages in the world to pronounce. Plus, many of them are not expecting you to speak Vietnamese. So you're going to speak some Vietnamese, and they're just going to look at you with a blank face because they're not expecting it. So, for example, I've spoken Vietnamese to people, and they've told me, no English, which is, that's infuriating, because you're like, I'm trying to speak your language, I'm making a sincere and honest effort. I've spent hundreds of hours trying to learn this language, and they don't even try to process it. And some of them do, but sometimes they don't. So that could be infuriating to you. The other thing is that even if you're just going strictly English, you can try to do that, but English fluency is not great in this country, and that's especially true if you get outside the big cities. So yeah, you can get by, and some people are conversational. If you meet lots of people, you'll be able to make friends. Again, Vietnamese people are friendly, and by the law of statistics, if you meet lots of people, you will meet people that speak English. So you can build a social circle here, but there is a very real language barrier living here. Healthcare. This is the last thing I'm going to cover. Healthcare here, I've gotten sick here before. I've had some different medical situations, and I would say the level of medical care here is adequate for the minor issues. If you got the flu, or if you break your toe, or something like that, something not too serious, you can get it done here, and you're going to be able to get affordable health care and a decent level of care. But that to be fair, that is in the big cities. In the big cities, you'll be able to get taken care of. I don't know about the smaller towns. Probably not. Probably don't want to go there. But the Vietnamese healthcare system, it is stressed. There is overcrowding in the hospitals, and I would say the care is definitely not up to the level of Western standards. So if you have some serious health issue, I would recommend you take a short flight over to Bangkok to get anything addressed while living here. So that overall, what I would say about, those are some of the things you can consider about retiring in Vietnam. Overall, I would say that if I was an older person retiring, or if my parents asked me, should they retire in Vietnam, I would say, think about how these different things are going to affect you. Think about how much money you have. If you have a limited budget, Vietnam is one of the better places to spend your retirement. And if you like the slower pace of life, I would recommend don't stay in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi if you're going to retire, because those cities are very polluted, they're very hectic, and dodging motorbikes that are driving on the sidewalk and coughing all the time, that's probably not what you want in your golden years. But consider maybe retiring to a city like Dalat or Vung Tau, maybe somewhere that has a population, maybe 500,000 to a million, maybe Da Nang. Da Nang is about 1.5 million. Those places can offer you a reasonable pace of life, an inexpensive cost of living, and also the opportunity to be close to the beach or to be close to the mountains. So I hope you found this video useful. I also have other videos on Vietnam that you can see to kind of see what the lifestyle is like here. But again, I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe, and I'll have more travel videos coming soon.